Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So today we continue. But for today, I change a bit. I go for chapter 8 first. And after this, I will go to chapter 7. I think it is very important to you to go through with the field grade processing, because previously in chapter 6, we did cover on field grade material, and here you will learn about the field grade processing and how the process involved in industry. Actually, this process involved taken from standard operation procedure in industry. So mainly in industry in Malaysia, in order to produce SMR, standard Malaysian rubber, they follow this standard operation procedure. So I hope you can give your attention on this chapter, because this chapter is very important, and the key points of this PST104, and moreover, more likely this chapter will be covered for your assignment, and mainly this chapter also should be one of the chapter that should be covered during your factory visit. However, due to our current situation, more likely we don't have factory visits, but I will come up with other solutions. Okay, let's begin our chapter 8. So at the end of the chapter, you should be able to explain the step production process of SMR 10 and 20, and mainly in this chapter I will cover on SMR 10 and 20, standard Malaysian rubber 10 and 20. And the second lesson outcome is to identify the types and the functions of various machines involved in crepe rubber production. So here, it did mention about the various machine. Of course, there is different types of machine in order to converting from field grade materials that you collect in the field and to convert it into a crepe rubber. And finally, it will press into rubber bills that ready to be sealed or to be used of the final product manufacturer. Okay. So this is the flowcharts of general processing pattern for SMR 10 and 20. Okay, so basically in industry, this is the general processing pattern that we use. Okay, it start with raw material, and of course raw material can be either the cut lumps, butt scraps, kita ada tree lace, latex coagulants, and etc. I will go through one by one after this. And the processing involved with the pre-cleaning, creeping, and final size reduction. How did you clean? How do you creep it? You convert into a blanket or sheets material, and finally you crush it into a small size we call the crumbs. And the crumbs will go to the drying process to eliminate excessive water content. Before you can bale it, you press it into a bale shapes of the bale. The weight of the bale approximately 25 to 35 kg, depends on the grades of material. And finally, the standard packaging that being conducted in industry. So, the general processing for SMR is start with the slab cutter. What is the purpose of slab cutter? Previously, I did mention or I did cover on the latex coagulation. Okay. For latex that is coagulated via acids, they produce a latex coagulant. So latex coagulant which is bigger compared to the cut lump. So you will use the slab cutter to cut your latex coagulants, and then it will go through a pre-breaker to cut it smaller. And usually this pre-breaker also used for cut lumps and field grade material, and it will further crush into a rotary cutter. To the purpose of this cutting, several cutting process is to reduce its size, and as the rubber reduce in size, the exposures, surface exposure is bigger, so it will be more efficient to clean your rubber. And if you go to your hammer mill, okay, hammer mill will transfer your shredded rubber into a creeper, series of creeper and shredder. You can see here, it go to creeper 1 and it go to shredder, and again it go to another creeper and we go to shredder. Okay, the series of creeper have a different nib size. That's mean when you creeps your materials, your rubber material, it will reduce the thickness as you go through a series of creeper. That's mean bila ada banyak creeper ni, mula-mula akan awak produce blanket ataupun rubber sheets yang slightly thicker, tebal, and then creeper number 2 dia akan reduce size, nib size dia lebih kecil, dia akan jadi nipis, dan this process ini akan diselang-selingkan dengan shredder. Awak akan cut and you akan shred, you cut, you shred. And dalam masa yang sama, creeper akan fold material awak. The fungsi, the purpose of folding of this crepe is to mix all together of your free grades material. Because we know that free grades that you receive is not from the same field. Katakan awak dapat ada daripada ladang A, ladang B, ladang C. Dan setiap satu ladang ini mempunyai free grades yang berbeza. So bila ada cut and folding, you will mix homogeneously your rubber. That's the purpose of creeper and the folding process. And as you cut and you shred until it produce here, you produce a rubber crumbs which is small enough, okay, and sufficiently clean. You will use that pumps. Here, the pumps will collect all of your rubber crumbs into a what we call that filling station. The filling station here full with the trolley, empty trolley, and the pump will transfer your rubber crumbs into a trolley before it go through the drying station. Okay, the drying station takes place approximately 4 hours, but eventually the current industry using more efficient in drying, they more likely dry your rubber crumbs around 1 to 1.5 hour only. And you go through this one is your air scrubber. They release the what we call that the fumes that produced during the drying process. Okay, and if you go through the hydraulic press, okay, but bear in mind, before you can press into a rubber bill, you need to allow your material to drop in temperature approximately 50 to 60 degrees Celsius before you can hydraulic press into a rubber bill. And rubber bill will weight your material approximately to 33.33 kg, and we go through metal detector to screen out any impurities or metals that may attach on the rubber material. And finally, we go to the packaging. So basically, in industry, this is the general processing of standard Malaysian rubber. Okay, this is standard operation in Malaysia. More likely, if you go to our neighboring country, for example Thailand, they also adopt these types of processing, but they might use a different type of equipment. But the purpose of this processing of SMR is similar, which is to to reduce the size of your rubber crumbs, to clean up, dry, and finally you produce a rubber bill.